Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Harvey Jurgen. My partner and I, Josh Hively, run Simple Solutions Real Estate here in Columbus, Ohio. Welcome to episode 2 of Beers and Business. Today we're featuring the Rally Cap Lager from Sonder Brewing in Mason, Ohio, which is an appropriate beer for today because we sit down with Mitch Dominski, and Mitch and I both share baseball as a pastime. Sonder also has this cool definition on the side of their can. It says that Sonder means the realization that each person has a unique story, which is the reason why we started this series and the reason we're sitting down with Mitch today. Sonder also has a cool podcast, the Sonder Stories podcast. You want to check that out? We hope you enjoyed today's episode. We sit down with Mitch Dominski of Solutions for Real Estate, and we talk about his journey to owning 2 businesses and 30 rental units. We also talk about what it takes to be a successful business owner, to be a good dad, and to sustain a good, healthy, happy marriage for 25 plus years, even when you're working with your spouse. Stick around to the end where we talk about a funny story Mitch has about an inflatable water slide. Hope you enjoy. All right, Mitch Dominski.
Harvey.
Who are you?
Josh.
Who
am I?
Yeah, who are you? What do you do? Mm-hmm. How did you get here to Columbus, Ohio doing what you do?
Gosh, where do I start, right?
The very beginning.
I'll start at the very beginning. Back in 1965. No. I grew up in Elyria, Ohio, Lorain County. It's on the west side of Cleveland. Very blue-collar town. My parents, both entrepreneurs.
Oh, really?
More my mom than my dad. My dad started a couple businesses. My mom cut hair. You know, she's an entrepreneur for 50 years behind a chair. And my uncles were a big influence on me too, because they owned car dealerships and rent-a-car place and a Napa store. So I kind of grew up around it. But I also saw, like my dad, I think he got caught up in the, they were getting rid of the, the pensions and Big Brother taking care of, we saw the front end of that. So my dad would every 5 or 7 years lose his job, and I think that affected me as far as stability. Not that it was unstable, as kids, you don't know if anything's going wrong, and it wasn't. It was just like, hey, Dad's home a lot.
Yeah.
So, but I went to Ohio State and I graduated.
So your dad, he did have his own businesses too?
He did.
Okay.
He did for a couple of years. He was a draftsman before CAD came out.
Okay.
And he had a great contract with Invacare. And he was a technician, but he wasn't a business owner, meaning that he did not go out and get more business. So he loved sitting at the table doing the work, but the business part of it, hey, I got work to do, so why do I need to go out and get more? And so I think him looking back, that's probably what he'd tell you.
Okay.
But graduated from Ohio State. While I was there, I worked in telecom, and that was my first job coming out of school, and I was in Dayton. And one of my customers, they had a new technology where they were installing payphones into prisons, okay, so inmate payphones. And they ended up interviewing me after 4 or 5 people, and I ended up saying, hey, look, if I could prove myself, I'd like to buy in. So they gave me a year to prove my numbers. After 4 months, they pulled me off the street because they couldn't keep up. So I ended up buying in. And we saw real quickly that business was getting the margins were getting smaller, so we ended up preparing the company to sell. And so the next question was, what am I going to do next? And like everybody, I looked into Subway and do I want to open up a BW3? I looked into BW3 and stuff, but my criteria was, and it was really about having the flexibility of saying, hey, if I want to go to a Little League game, I'll have that ability to do that. So, so my criteria was, I don't want employees, I don't want to have retail hours, I don't want to, I want it to be more passive. So in the 90s, it was late night television. I didn't have bigger pockets back then. So, so late night television, you know, the guy would come on and say, you know, no money down, buy houses. And I'm like, you know, if these guys can do it, I can surely do it. So
Okay.
I just started researching it. We ended up selling the company in 96, got married in 93, 27 years later, still married. But we sold the company. I went and moved out to Kansas City, and we went out there as an adventure. And we ended up, I was still interested, and I was coming back to Ohio for my customers still, and we ended up coming across this guy that was doing investing, and started talking to him. And in 98, Susie was, my wife was pregnant with our son Matt, and said, man, I'm hearing a lot of good things about Columbus. This is 1998. Okay.
Because you were already in Ohio, but not in the Columbus area? When
We moved to Kansas City. So my first job was in Dayton,
Yeah.
and then I went to Kansas City for 2 years.
Traveling back to Ohio.
Traveling back to Ohio because all my customers were here. So I was a VP of over there, but you know, I still kept in contact with my clients. And so when we moved here, it was 98. So we moved into our new house we built on January 15th. I bought a 15 unit, I bought a 24 unit, and my kid was born in 90 days. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome.
Get it.
Do it.
Get after it.
So, and then I learned that I didn't know shit about real
Yeah,
estate.
yeah.
So, and it was.
That's a good way to learn.
That's a good way to learn, yeah. Go manage campus stuff where you're managing, babysitting
Yeah.
kids and the helicopter moms. So it wasn't for me, and I was probably undercapitalized for those buildings because they needed a lot of work, and that's probably one of the most common things I see with investors is they're undercapitalized for the CapEx stuff. So, but I got out of that and then went into single family. The guy that I was using as an agent asked if we want to start a brokerage, and we did. So started Solutions for Real Estate in 2001.
Who just asks one of their clients? He had to
I was
see
a good
something,
client.
know something.
Dude, I was a good client.
I mean, just to ask one of your clients, hey, do you want to start a brokerage?
Well, you know, when I bought those properties, and got to move back home. I actually opened up my office in the brokerage, the real
so
estate
you knew
office.
each other beyond.
So we knew that.
Okay.
So I wanted to learn the business. I wasn't going to do what I was doing, you know, for inmate phone business all day, you know, for the rest of my life. So I'd hang up from a conference call, and then we go look at houses, or, hey, you want to start buying single family? And I started with him. And
Yeah.
so after 3 years, he's like, hey, let's go start our own. So I started the brokerage in 01, and then I went and got my license. I didn't have a license yet. And as we were growing, we were attracting a lot of real estate agents at that time. And the investor side I was just trying to build my own portfolio. I wasn't trying to, property management was kind of an accident, you know. But we also found out at that time that, you know, we're already doing the work. You know, do you know an electrician? Can you help me fill the property? We were really good at finding deals. Again, this is before, you know, everything that we do now. But
Right.
So we ended up just you know, if we helped you find a property, we'll manage that property for you. So,
Okay.
you know, we were up to about 130 units. The guy that I was partners with, he wanted to move on, so one of the other agents in the brokerage bought him out. 3 years later, I ended up buying him out, and at that point, you know, Matt was in high school, and
Your
my
son.
kid did end up,
Yeah.
he did end up playing baseball.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be around for that, and you know, he's growing, and so after he graduated, we kind of retooled everything that we did. You didn't know me before, you know, my previous life, but we just, Susie and I, my wife, she's our accountant too, we decided we're going to re-engineer everything. We redid our website, procedure manual, all that stuff, and it was just time.
When was that?
That was 2000, 16 and 17.
Okay.
So it's not that long ago.
Okay.
Okay. And we thought that, I always felt like we were a little bit better than the average in property management here in Central Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
But I started going to national events, which, you know, you guys, we all should do to see what everybody's doing for best practice. And, you know, feeling good. And then all of a sudden we started hearing all these people doing stuff, and we're like 5 years behind, you know?
Like what?
Oh, technology that we're using, you know, it's something as simple as having a portal for an owner to log in to see their account, stuff like that. And it's little stuff like that, but it was what people were asking for. So we ended up just retooling everything and really, you know, really started grinding at that. And then I ran into Jeff Holtz, who brought Homevestors here to Columbus. And he was saying, hey, you know, I'm looking for a property manager. Can you tell me what properties to buy, which ones to keep? And he said, man, you should go out and do this Homevestor stuff. I'm like, dude, I don't have freaking time, you know? And my wife's like, you don't have time to do this. But I knew, because I was putting those systems in place, that I was starting to, you know, working on the business, not
Come
in
up
it.
for air.
Yeah, so I saw it. She didn't see it yet, but I was starting to feel it.
Yeah.
And so we went ahead with it, and then we started doing the Homevestor thing in 18. So it'll be ending up year 3 in February
Okay.
next year.
So you've got the brokerage.
Oh, by the way, I've been buying properties too in the meantime.
Yeah.
So you've got the brokerage, and then the property management company, as well as the Homevestors franchise.
Homevestors, and then I've got my own real estate portfolio.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
4, I guess.
So high school, Ohio State,
Mm-hmm.
employee for a very short time.
Yeah, maybe 3 years.
What did
4
you
years.
study at Ohio State?
Marketing.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you convince your employer to let you buy into the company? That's atypical.
So they were my customer, and they're like, hey, we're thinking about taking this statewide. Do you know of anybody that that might want to be a sales rep?
Okay, so you didn't work for the company that you bought into.
No.
Okay, I see.
So
Okay.
they were looking for somebody, so I actually recommended 3 people, and I would interview them. Coincidentally, one of my old bosses, I sent them over there. We actually managed for her today. You
Okay,
know?
interesting.
Yeah. And she's got like 25 properties.
Nice.
Killing it.
Nice.
Yeah. But I knew what they wanted. Look, I don't have a mortgage. I don't have a car payment. And I wanted it. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know what the avenue was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll put my money on the line. And,
Yeah.
you know, it was one of those where, you know, this is 1992, 3, or whatever it was. No, it's before that. And
80s?
it was, no, I know, right? But it was one of those where I think in commissions, I made like over $100,000. Well, they couldn't even afford to pay me,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I knew that. And I just kicked ass,
Yeah.
you know, and they proved it. And, you know, they pulled me off the street, and all of a sudden I'm in billing. I'm in the middle of installs, you know. I've been in probably 200 prisons, you know.
Okay, why?
On the right side.
Why though?
Well, we're doing installs.
Installs of what?
On phones.
Okay.
On inmate pay phones.
Prison phones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So,
Make some friends in there.
yeah.
Did you?
Or visited old ones.
Mm-hmm. Still have some pen pals.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it was a great experience. I mean, Tim and George, you know, you start learning little things that you don't know you're learning. You know,
Mm-hmm.
George, he told me that you want to get into a business that has recurring revenue, which real estate allows you to do. That made sense to me. He actually had a 12 unit that he owned, so I kind of, you know, watched from the side. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And Tim is, you know, he's a technical wizard, and he was always the process guy, you know, so you kind of pick up things from as you go through life. But we all did agree that we had to get out of it because right now it's a commodity business. And
Okay.
but
Then you sold.
then we sold, yeah.
So that was your first business.
That was the first business. And I look back, it was a little bit of money. It was enough to get stuff started, but
Mhm.
it wasn't life changing by any means. It was just like, I can go start another business.
It was almost a seed of experience for what you have now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And before I got started, I studied. I'm very conservative when it comes to starting a business. I want to learn a lot. And again, we didn't have the internet back then. So, I took 4 years until I felt comfortable moving forward with a deal.
A real estate deal.
Yeah, a real estate deal. And but once I understood it, I bought 39 units in 90 days.
Right. Yeah.
And then it was like,
Just-
shit, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I thought I did.
Yeah.
And so those experiences are things that I talk to owners day in and day out right now. So
You mentioned that you knew you wanted to be an entrepreneur. When did you know that? Why did you know that?
I don't know. I just I think it was probably late high school. I didn't know what it was called then. We weren't calling it an entrepreneur. Like, I own my own business. Okay, what does that mean?
Right.
And I had an uncle who's in the car dealership or car business, and my other uncles worked in their business, and they started doing their own things. And my uncles, to watch them and do what they did, it was it's like, man, that's cool how they're doing that. Whenever you were around my Uncle Shannon, it was like everything was going to be okay.
Mhm.
And there was a, I don't know if you want to call it sense of security, but it was always like things are going to get taken care of. But I liked that feeling, and I'm like, I gravitated towards that. So.
Okay. And that was his personality, or was it because he was in?
He was good. I remember having people, I was 22 years old, and I was going to go work for him through college. He actually didn't hire me twice through there because he knew better, because he's running a business. But I just felt like he what was the question?
You mentioned that he always felt like he was in control.
Yeah, and the sense of security.
And was that a product
his
of
personality,
his,
or was that because
or
he had a
his-
successful business?
Yeah, one of the things that was odd to me, when I did work there, people, they knew that I was his nephew, but I didn't get any special treatment. If anything, I was, they made sure that I earned my keep.
Yeah.
I would be working with a customer or whatever, and my Uncle Hank would come behind me and give me a kidney punch.
Nice.
And that's the way we roll,
Mhm.
and that's the way my cousins and I roll. That's what we do. But that being relaxed like that. But I'd have employees come to me and say, "Your dad or your uncle's, he's great to work for," and he always took care of them.
Yeah.
And it might, taking care of them is not necessarily giving them more money,
Mhm.
but it was, hey, I'm going to buy you lunch, or all of a sudden. You give them $100 or send something
Right.
over. So
Yeah.
like that kind of stuck with me a little bit. And
Right.
sometimes I do that with our current staff. A month ago I brought everybody food.
Yeah.
With COVID. So
Right.
just stuff like that. I want we make sure that we're trying to do that. We're just doing something a little bit special.
Right. So we all know the buzzword financial independence.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to break free of the chains of the W-2 job.
Yeah.
I think most people think, okay, to do that, I need to own my own business. Is owning a business for everybody?
I think it's more of the makeup of whether or not you can handle it. It's not for everybody. I have a couple of owners that I started working with, and I'm like, you don't have the personality for it,
For owning real estate.
for owning real estate, let alone a business.
Right.
Because they panic about everything.
Mhm.
And I was, early on, you don't know what you don't know. And even though with my guidance, I couldn't get them past it, and they would be freaking out over something that's like, this is really not a big deal.
In the
You know,
grand scheme,
you
yeah.
know, I'm like, you know, you hired me to make sure that you can sleep at night, and you're still not sleeping at night. Believe me, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
So, if you are having a hard time with it, maybe this isn't for you.
Right.
So,
And do you think those, like, the personality is the same for, like, somebody who wants to own real estate versus somebody who would own a business?
I think so. It's sexy to own your own business, and part of that is
But is it sexy?
it is.
I mean,
It is.
it's sexy.
Say it when you're at a party and someone's like, "Oh yeah, he runs his own business." Come on, you don't feel a little.
Yeah, it's sexy like owning a boat. Like, you say you own a boat and you have your friends on a boat, and it's a good freaking time. But then you're the one who's got to do all the work,
That's right.
Clean
Pay
the
for
boat,
a great
example.
put
That's
gas
a-
in the
that's a
boat.
great
pay for the
example.
storage. It is sexy on the surface.
It is.
But what is it like really?
But until you own the boat, you don't know that.
Yeah.
So the people that want to own a boat, it's still sexy until I own the boat.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've crossed over to owning the boat.
Mhm.
You know, and something breaks, and insurance. Oh, it's just sitting there.
Yeah.
It's been sitting there for a month. We haven't even been in it.
Right.
You
But I
know?
got to write this check to
Right.
insurance company.
Right.
Yep.
So, you know, a lot of it is, and same with financial independence, is it's the flexibility. And, you know, like I said, I knew back in, you know, college
Yeah.
that I wanted to create this life that I have the flexibility of doing that. Because I
Right.
remember my uncles,
Mm-hmm.
they had the ability to take off
Yeah.
and go play golf
Right.
on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
However,
In their
those
early
guys,
in their early 30s or 40s, not when they're 62.
that's right. And those guys, now, they freaking work hard.
Right.
Mondays and Thursday nights, they are there till 10:30.
Mhm.
Then they go drink, close the bar, and they would be there before anybody else at 8:30 in the morning the next day.
Yeah.
It's like, how in the hell are you guys doing this?
Yeah.
But they were three brothers that were feeding off each other, and there was
Right.
a lot of high energy there.
Mhm.
And as you imagine, my 5 boy cousins, all of us were being groomed for that business. So that's attractive. You know,
Mhm.
and same with, you know, to your point about, you know, owning your own business and how hard it can be. That's what we're trying to achieve, is that independence
Right.
of, you know, owning your own thing and having control, even though you know that you still have to put gas in the boat. So even though you coaching, you know, your 3 kids in baseball, your phone's buzzing on your hip,
Right.
and you're like, it kind of drives you crazy, you
Yeah.
know, a little bit. But at the same time, but I'm here. I'm
Right.
here with my
Mhm.
kids.
Right.
So let's just be present,
Yeah.
you know, even though I'm
Exactly.
coaching third right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Leave your phone in the car, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, those dynamics change a little bit, but you know, they outweigh completely on
Yeah.
you know,
But the dream is, over time, if you're doing the right things, like we were talking about before, you set up systems, you get the right people in the right places so that you can put your head above water and concentrate more on living your life and less on operating the technical details of your business.
right.
Steering the boat.
And then you're your uncles.
So, right. So, and one of the things that, you know, my uncles were mad about it because that's where they're hanging out. You know, if they were not at work, they would be hanging out with each other. So
Right.
it ended up being their job, and you know, I know they got into it.
Yeah.
You know, they're brothers, man.
Yep.
But the business, or owning a business, and owning real estate, it's all about, again, having control over what you're about to do. what you
So
want to do.
let's assume that I'm a person who, maybe I don't want to own my own business, but maybe I think I'm cut out for owning real estate. I haven't taken the plunge yet, and it's because I have a shared vision and dream for my life, like the 3 of us do, where I'm not in an office 8 to 9 hours a day, and I'm able to do what I want at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon.
Awesome.
What can
I
I just
want
jump
that for
into?
everybody.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I think it would make people happier and nicer.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
but can I just jump into it, or are there some things that I probably need to attend to in my personal life, my financial life, before I just go out and buy a 32 unit?
Right, right. So I think that, you know, you got to have your house in order. And when I say that, it's not just financially, it's, you know, talking with my wife, Susie, about what I wanted to do. And I, you know, like I said, I talked to her about it for 4 years. And she finally turned to me and said, would you freaking buy something already? Because I'm tired
Just
of you
do
talking
it.
to me about it, right? Because we didn't have this.
Yeah.
You know, there was no out at that
Yeah,
point. You know, it's
right.
lonely at the top, right?
Right.
So, but I also know that she's on that journey with me, you know, because now she's the accountant. She's
Yeah.
completely with
Which
me.
is huge.
Which is huge.
Right.
And she's awesome. So, so to getting the buy-in at home, that's a conversation. And, you know, when I talk to new investors, sometimes I might pick up, hey, can I include my wife on the phone? Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I want, yeah, because what happens with you and this, if you're on your own, you're going to bring it home and it's like, what's wrong? Well, we had to replace the furnace today. It's $2,500 bucks.
Yeah.
Where
Well, I
are we
remember
getting this
Mitch
money?
told me it could happen.
Right. Yeah.
That's a lot better.
Exactly. So that's part of it. Do you have time to do it? You know, do you have 3 kids and you're going to go off to Las Vegas for 4 months? Can you do that?
Man,
Well,
that
that's
sounds
you.
great.
Right. But I mean, you got a partner here, you
Right.
know, so boots on
Yeah.
the ground, but you know, you're picking up stuff, so you can do that today. But financially, you know, living through 2008 for me and watching, you know, we had 52 agents and went to 25 in a matter of 6 months. All of a sudden income's tight and you don't know. It was kind of like when they shut everything down for COVID. It's like, what does that mean? I don't even know what that means,
Yeah.
you know? And that's
How
like,
long is this?
how long is this? We don't. And it's still not over.
Yeah, we don't know,
right?
yeah.
We still,
Yeah.
man, if we just get through next summer. Before it was like last summer, right?
Yeah.
So, so 2008 taught me that you could never have too much reserves. Whatever you're trying to do, whatever business, it takes twice as long and it costs twice as much.
Pro tip.
Just remember that.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine that started a business. He sat on that thing trying to make it run for 4 years. And meanwhile, he's still got his $600,000 house. It's like, dude, you need to cut and bail. There's got to be a point in time where you say, if I'm not at this, I got to get out of it.
Right.
You know, and sometimes we're hard-headed. We can't get past that.
Right.
But, you know, what I went through is I was doing some soul searching and I was just going to what am I doing here? How much is enough? You know, I was trying to find out how much is enough because everything was bad. You know, property management, we were making a little bit of money and actually got us through 2008, you know, but it was still, you know, tenants weren't paying and, you know, it was bad. It was hard to run that business anyway, and we're about to run through that again.
How much is enough as in what do I really need here?
Yeah, what do I really need?
Yeah.
Money-wise,
Yeah,
you
right.
know? Because when I got started in 1998, I should say, it was really easy to get loans. It was, you know, fog a mirror, you get a loan. Hey, I bought a 15 or 24 unit, they can turn around and carry a second for me. Banks didn't care. So I'd have 5 or 10% down in the deal.
Nice.
What?
Yeah.
You know, you can't do that now.
Right. 2008.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Probably shouldn't, but yeah.
right. So so it was really easy to get loans and stuff. And at that time, I'm like, man, I'm going to go out and get $10 million in property. Why not? It was a nice round number. I already had $1 million.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
You know? And then 2008 hit, and then 2010 comes along, and it's like, man, I don't know if we're going to be open in 90 days, you know? And, I started searching and I found Dave Ramsey. Okay, are you a Dave Ramsey fan?
For the most part.
For the most part,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
The concept
Dave Ramsey
is,
has got me some
he's
good trajectory.
good
Yeah.
trajectory, and it reset me on, why do I have debt? Why do I have so much? How much is enough, right?
Yeah.
So I just started listening and I'm like, okay. And also I'm Googling how to set your real estate goals, and article came up and it says how to set your real estate goals. And the first line was, if you need $10 million in real estate, you have an ego problem.
Oops.
Oh shit. Apparently I have an ego problem.
Yeah.
So, and it goes into describing on how much is enough. So it goes into how to figure out your magic number in real
Right.
estate. And I started doing my numbers, and I do it like every 3 years. But basically I found out that for every dollar of scheduled rent that you have coming in, so let's call it $1,000, you can count on 50% of that month in, month out for the rest of your life once you pay off the mortgage. Okay?
Once you pay off the mortgage.
Exactly.
And the other
Okay.
50% is for
Taxes, insurance, empties,
property management,
property
vacancy,
management, vacancy,
maintenance,
CapEx, all that
of it.
stuff.
So if
So-
it's not paid off, then it's some number above 50% or less than 50%.
That's
that you
right.
can count.
So, I mean, if you're, this is, now we're getting to NOI stuff.
But to your point though, if you decide that you need $5,000 a month to cover your expenses and be financially free, what you actually need is $10,000 in cash flow.
That's $10,000.
in scheduled rent.
$10,000 in scheduled rent. So that's 10 properties and bringing in $1,000 a month.
Paid off.
Free and clear.
Paid off.
But if they're not paid off, and if you're leveraging those properties, then you can assume though that if you have cash flow, maybe your units you have way more units, you have way more
Right.
scheduled rent.
Right.
If you're cash flowing $200 a door, for instance, and you need $10,000 a month, then you got to multiply that by 2.
Right.
Or if you need $5,000 a month, you got to multiply that by 2. That's what your cash flow should be.
Right.
Okay.
But like I said, it takes capital to grow. So if you're going to stick on that $200 and you got a loan on every one of them, take $200. How many units is that now?
To get to 10,000?
To get to your $5,000.
To get to 5,000. Yeah.
How many is it? 5, it's 25, 30 properties. So how much money do you have down for each property? You know what I'm saying? And all it takes is one hot water tank or one empty, and you were wiped out.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I kind of saw that. When I first got into it, I started asking the old guys because we didn't have bigger pockets. Someone told me,
Or beers in business.
beers in business.
Right.
Exactly.
Thanks for the plug.
Someone, a guy told me, he said, well, it's going to take you 10 years to make any money in real estate. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand. I'm educated.
I got stuff to do.
I got shit to do. I studied on it, and I respected the fact that I needed to learn it. And if you do the math, 1998, 10 years later is 2008. I wasn't doing anything better in
Right.
2008. So it actually took me 12 years, before I felt like I was making money. So my real estate portfolio, I have 30 properties right now. My scheduled rent is $28,500. That's my top line number.
On the nose.
On the nose, because I just updated it. I've got 9 to pay off. Okay? So do I go out?
21 paid off properties of 30.
Yes. Yep. I'll be probably, and these are all balances that are coming down pretty fast. So probably in 3 years, they'll be done.
30 plus paid off.
30
properties.
plus,
Yeah.
paid off. So, but I've not taken a dollar from my portfolio because that's my 401k. I'm an entrepreneur, right?
Right.
Even though we just started one 5 years ago in the business and all that stuff, but my goal is with those properties, they have the flexibility to go do whatever I want. And I'm doing whatever I want 10 years before my time.
Yeah.
But I've always told myself I'm more concerned about getting that paid off so I can
Do whatever.
do whatever. So, and then even the Homevestor money that I make, I don't pull any money out of that because I put it towards debt on those properties. So,
But, okay, so there's two sides of this.
Yes.
There's the income streams, which I want to get back into. But then there's also what those income streams have to cover, which are your expenses, your everyday expenses.
my everyday expenses. You mean to live here?
To live, right, to support your family. And not, I want to get into kind of like your numbers, but I think it's also key to hit that side of it where if you want financial independence, there's some building and there's also some subtracting on the other side.
So,
2 levers.
yeah. So, the building side, I think I covered it with paying off my property as far as income coming in, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My property management business, we did gross revenue of 2.8 million in gross revenue.
That is a big
But
number.
that's a big number, but a lot of that goes out back to the agents.
Yeah.
Because our split, it's not that much. Some of it goes back to the contractors we pay to do work.
Sure.
1.7 of that is maintenance. And a lot of that money goes back
It's a
to paying the
maintenance
contractor.
heavy,
So that's a high
expense
number.
heavy business.
Yeah. I mean, if you take that out, it's really, the number really is probably 9 to $1 million that I have income coming in, and then I start paying payroll.
Yeah.
And I've got a decent payroll. You know, I've got Jamie, I got Ashley, I got Josh, I have Diane, who's out of the Philippines, so she's our virtual assistant. I have Julie, I have Susie, and me.
Yeah.
So there's payroll that's coming out of that
Right.
amount. And then we go into the virtual assistants that we have, which is Easy Repair for evening hours, taking our calls. There's another one for Tenant Turner that does our showing stuff that we're paying out. Our website, all of our podcast, or not our blogs that we do, and all
Yeah.
the marketing. So all of a sudden, if you look at the numbers, I mean, if you take that, I mean, it's a single digit percentage of what we're actually making.
Yeah.
But the profit from the brokerage, the way we do it is we actually we look at what our profit is and we throw it all into our 401k.
Okay.
So I actually do profit sharing with my full-time employees.
After you've already paid yourself.
After we already paid ourselves.
Yeah.
And by the way, I wasn't doing this 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I tell my employees I can't do profit sharing every year. I don't know yet. But the way we decided to do it was we'll take our profit sharing and we're just going to throw it at our 401k, and we give obviously our employees some of that money.
Right. It's great.
Based on what the laws are, because
Sure.
the laws are different the way you do it. So.
Right. So income streams, you have the brokerage, which is kind of like the business you spend the most time in.
Yes.
People would call it like your vertical income stream.
Okay.
And then across, you also have your Homevestors business
Yep.
and 30 rental properties.
Yes.
And that's kind of like the bulk of your income.
Yes.
And let's just take the passive income. Let's not count the brokerage.
Okay.
Are you at a point where that covers your living expenses, your basic
Yes.
living expenses?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Did you get to like ring a bell or something when that happened?
the only time I ring a bell is when I pay off another property, and it might be we go out to, North Star or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's about it.
Right.
Even though it is a long journey and you have to set those little goals up every time you do something, like if you buy another property, hey, ding, ding, let's do
Yeah.
something special.
Absolutely.
So you got to, because it's a long freaking journey, right? Yeah.
Your
so,
expenses.
So kind of when I started figuring out what our magic number was, what we need to live on, this house is paid off. We paid, let's get rid of that. And that's less money that I have to make. But I rounded up my number, so I decided that 15 grand a month is plenty of income.
Yeah.
Which is plenty of income. And
Universally, plenty of income.
generally, yeah. It was only because I was already at that point, I was already at like 11.
Yeah.
And if it was 9, I would have probably stopped at 10. But it's like,
we're already over.
You guys already know. I mean, you guys know this. You get to a certain point. Well, that was okay. Let's do it. I'm here.
Yeah.
And while I can.
Yeah.
And I think a little bit of that upbringing for me. You never know about the future.
Yeah, sure.
So
right.
that kind of eats at you a little bit.
Yeah.
But
well, and Harvey and I did some numbers on our minimum expenses, and it was like we were already pretty well trending to cover that.
Okay.
So it was like, well, I guess we
Right.
go
Okay.
up
Yes.
from there.
So was your decision, though, based on your expenses, or was it just, I'm at 11, 15 would be cool, let's do it?
That was more the latter.
Okay.
Because
Because you were already covering.
I was already covering, right? And by the way, I have to pay taxes on that.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So, we don't spend a lot of money. We live way below our means, and we just, I don't know what else we could be doing.
Right.
There's
some freedom about that.
Yeah, we can do whatever we want.
Right. So catastrophic planning can be stockpiling money.
You figured it out, but I was already at a certain number, and I was so focused on paying off debt and just building the business to a certain point where I said, all right, I'm at a good spot, which, coincidentally, and you guys are about to find this out because you guys are trying to get to a certain amount and a certain, you got to build it to a certain point, and you guys think you know what the size is, and I've had those conversations. When I said, if I can get to 300 doors managing, I'm going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I got to 300 but man, 400.
Yeah.
And now
Right.
my new number is 600.
Right.
Right? 600, all of a sudden that changes other things. But there is a certain number that you guys need to reach. Well, you'll have enough people that you guys are focused on exactly what you want to do, because there's a lot of stuff that you have to do to get there. So you guys need to get enough business in place for you to hire somebody to do those things that you can't stand.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, this is a good number for us.
Yeah.
And there's kind of a range. There's a range in there somewhere. You're like, we can handle a little bit more. Bit more, and then now you have a decision, and we're approaching that decision on the property management side. If we got to 600, which by the way we're at 525, if we got to 600, when we get to 600, we have a decision to make, and the decision is we need another layer. There's another layer of things, and at 55, do I want to do that?
Do you want to add the layer? Yeah.
Right. Life is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm grateful for what my wife and I have built.
Yeah.
Why, we got everything's firing on all cylinders.
You'll have to go back and find that article again.
That's right. Right. Down with the ego. Right. So.
Right. So that's where you are now.
I'm getting there. I'm real close.
You've come a long way. You've built all these different income streams, and
it's a hockey
businesses.
stick, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only happened in the last 3 years where it's like, wow.
Right.
Okay.
In a 20-some-year journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And when, I talk to new owners when they're coming in, they're like, yeah, I'm ready to get started. I'm like, okay, awesome. This is the long haul. Yeah, it is. And I share my story with them, and I just want them my job is to cut the years off.
Yeah.
If I can help you guys cut off 5 years, I'm going to tell you how to do it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
was there ever a point in that journey where you wanted to just go back and work a job and just hide in a cubicle?
Go back to the prison.
Never. Because I worked, I went to work for the company that bought us, and then I jumped ship and started the brokerage, and all right, money was depleting fast. And so I probably did that for about a year, and I'm like, I need to go back to work.
Yeah.
And I called them up, and it happened to be the perfect position. I didn't have any employees, and I could go back to work for them.
Okay.
And I was given a national account, and about 6 months into it, I'm like, I'm going to land a big freaking contract for them. And I said, I am not going back. Because once you guys, if once you've tasted the freedom, there is no way you guys, and you would think, man, I could be a great employee. I know it.
No way.
You're an owner.
Yeah.
You're an owner, man.
Yeah.
How could you not know what they want?
Right.
But you go work for somebody else,
Yeah.
and you're like, but you're going to lose customers that way. It's like there's a philosophy difference. It's tough. But when I landed a $51 million contract for them, got my bonus, and said, see you later. And
Nice.
I'm like, I'm not looking back. I'm going to figure this thing out.
Yeah.
And of course, you use that to drive yourself. So,
Yeah. Nice.
yeah.
So, are there systems or models that you have unabashedly stolen or borrowed from other people that have worked beautifully in your life or business to get to where you are right now?
I don't know. I mean, like I was mentioning Dave Ramsey, I'm like all about him except for the debt on no real estate, right?
That's where most people usually.
Yeah, that's where we depart, right?
Most real estate people, I should say.
Right.
Yeah.
And, there's the argument of, but your returns are better. And Dave Ramsey will argue, your risk, you have more risk. And I kind of see that. So I did a spreadsheet of lowest to highest mortgages. So I have my debt snowball payoff, and I do that with my real estate holdings. So that was something that I focus on, and that's one of the things I've stolen. I think that keeping yourself educated keeps you motivated. Like when we go to the
education is motivation.
Yeah, I mean, when we go to the convention for home investors, you get motivated from that stuff, man.
Hella motivated.
So you're walking out of there like, man, what am I doing?
Yeah,
I'm always
right.
it's like, let's go.
Yeah. Speaking of ego, you think you feel good about yourself?
Yeah,
go to
you
one of
ain't
those
shit.
conventions.
Yeah, you ain't shit. But all right,
Yeah,
I'll take it.
right.
That's how I get motivated,
Right.
right? So that's what we pay for.
Exactly.
But I think back when Susie and I started going out and saying what's best practice nationally. We walked out of there. Susie turned to me and said, "Why aren't we doing 1,000 units?" I'm like, "I don't know. You want to do 1,000 units?
Jeez.
Let's go." And but it's interesting. My wife's very conservative. For her to say that, she's buying in, and every once in a while she'll say, "Should we buy a property now?" She wasn't against it, but she was, she didn't know yet.
Yeah.
Just like all of us. So, but that stuff, I think it just motivates you when you start hearing other people
Staying
doing
educated.
stuff and on top of it, and so. I see myself doing it till at least till I'm 70.
Okay.
And I think it's
Doing
only
what?
because
Buying real estate.
and paying off my portfolio. Ask me when that's all paid off, because then it'll be like, well, I'm going to add another $1,000 to, I'll buy one more a year or whatever, and then all of a sudden I'll buy 3 in 1 year, whatever, my son is going to be graduating college in a couple years, and he has a high interest in it, and I see that I could probably help him do that stuff. So
Nice.
I can see him kind of mixing in with him, but I love what I do. So, and my give back is to help other people, and if I can help people shave off years of getting there, awesome.
Was that a conscious decision to start kind of pouring into the lives and careers of other people?
I don't think so.
just
I think it
happened?
just kind of all of a sudden I'm hanging up and I'm like, because especially lately in the last 2 years, I get a lot of phone calls and people just want to talk, and I'll take care of the people that, and but here's the difference, and I was just going to say, the people that are close to me, I will reach out and I will be there, and what do we need, I'm in.
Right.
It's the people that are calling me from outside, and I just, all of a sudden you're losing your own time. I'm like, what is in it for me? And not that there has to be anything in it. I like talking about it, obviously, but you start getting calls and people are eating up your time. Right. It's like, I can't do that forever.
Right. Yeah, time is valuable. All right, what is one thing, if you could time travel and go back and smack your younger self in the face for, that you would do?
You'll love this.
I think, yeah.
Doing okay, right? This is mid 2005, 6, and I got a little bit of money on my hands, and I go down to Florida. You don't know this story, but go down to Florida, and we're walking on the beach, and I walk up to this huge 4-story water slide, blow-up water slide, inflatable water slide. Yeah. Do you know this story?
I do.
Okay. So I'm like, what the hell? So my kid's like, man, Dad, can I go on this thing? I'm like, yeah, $3 to go slide down this hill. And so I'm sitting there with a couple drinks. I'm like counting the kids going down this thing. I'm like, this guy's making like $3,000 a day. And I'm like, what in the world? So I'm looking around and I get the number, like start calling. I'm like, what are you guys all about? Yeah, we're doing this. We got a program that we're gonna place these things throughout Florida, and we'll manage it, and you buy it, and we'll split the profits. I'm like, what are the profits? And we think we can do exactly what this place in St. Petersburg is doing, and it's probably making about $18,000 a month, something like that. It was ridiculous. I'm like, okay.
Right.
So I went down there, I met with them, and I'm like, feeling good, and I plopped down $125,000
for a water slide.
That's how much a 4-story inflatable water slide costs.
Yeah.
$125,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Noted.
Yep. I made about $15,000. That's about it. Lost my ass on it.
Over what period of time?
It was about 2 years. Just trying to place it.
Yeah.
And what I didn't know was the guys that were managing it, they had their own, so they got their own place first before mine. Mine was always last.
Yeah.
So I ended up just selling it for like $10,000, and
Ooh.
Yeah, it was beaten like a dog. It was like, just swallow it and go.
Yeah.
So,
how did Susie in the accounting department feel about that?
No matter the accounting department, your wife's department.
Yeah. It was not good, but it was one of those where we don't talk about.
Okay. Under the rug.
But look what I've done, baby. Look at us now.
Yeah, and she's like, remember the water slide?
Yeah. No, that doesn't come up that way.
That's good.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah, that one was one, and
do you think,
as you know,
was that
I don't
just
like
like
partners.
a shiny object thing,
No,
or
it
were
was
you
like,
actively looking for?
The problem was I had the money, and I made a bad decision because I had the money, and that's like that's worse than not having money.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds stupid,
Yeah.
but that's a big mistake.
Yeah.
So if you don't manage like you're always scratching,
Yeah.
then you'll make bad mistakes.
Yeah, I often think it's the same thing with your time too. Just because you have the money or you have the time doesn't mean you should buy it or do it.
Dude, I was still buying properties. I was still doing this, and I should have just took $125,000 and I would have had 2 paid off properties.
That's right.
At that time. And
you'd have 7 left.
It would have been, well, it would probably just accelerated.
Yeah.
I could have been, 5 left or
you'd be
whatever
down
it is.
in Florida right now.
Right. So that one hurt.
So other than not buying a $125,000 4-story water slide in Florida.
Inflatable.
Stupid.
Right, inflatable. Non-permanent water
Look
slide.
it up, the hippo.
The hippo? What does it take to have a happy 25, 27-year marriage?
Communication and compromise, right? So I am very lucky. I'm a minor league player playing in the majors. I mean, my wife is,
wow,
she's awesome. She keeps me in check. She makes me a better person of all your, in all aspects. I was wearing something different today.
wow.
But I asked.
Yeah.
I knew. So, but I don't know. She's awesome. I mean, she understands. Not only is she the accountant on that side of it. So,
Yeah.
I'm the one that. There it is. Tell me where it goes, and don't we have more money in here? Yeah. Don't. It's whatever.
Right.
But a lot of times when I'm about ready to fire off an email, I'll have her read through it, and she just makes me look good. So
It's great.
yep.
How is it working with? I mean, it sounds like working with your wife. It goes well
I
for
can't
you
believe
guys.
it is because
Yeah.
everybody tells you it doesn't. I can tell you. Here's the thing. We know she knows not to mess with not that she's even messing. She has no interest in doing what we're doing right now. And what I do out there, and I have interest from a KPI level on how we doing and what's in the bank and stuff. But she likes that world. This is if you look at the DISC program on what type of personality she
Right.
is versus what I am,
Right.
we're yin and yang that way. However, she says every once in a while, hey, should we be buying a property now? So we both see that. So
Yeah. Because you worked together for so
Yeah.
long, and had been in this
Yeah.
for so long, you
Yeah.
kind of have a rhythm and a
right.
feel for
So I mean, we're on different floors here. We're working at home now.
it. Yeah.
But we would go work days where I don't talk to her the entire time, and we're in the same office.
Mm-hmm.
And, we have a rule when we get home, we talk for 5 minutes. Let's not talk about work anymore.
Yeah.
And,
It's great.
now that we're home and even more, I mean, we try and shut this thing down,
Yeah.
because it's more important.
Yeah.
So, but,
And
she's,
what about being a good dad?
Just being there for Matt, he's smart. He's, should Matt get in the real estate business or take over the property management, he's too smart for that, I think. I mean, he's showed no interest, and I think you have to show passion for, that stuff. But, I've wanted to be around him for everything that he did without being a helicopter. Just all you can do is love him,
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, so I chose this beer for us.
This is awesome. I love the
Sonder
logo.
Lager. You like it?
Yeah.
So we're both baseball guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Even though I only played 2 years.
you coached,
I coached. Yeah.
you talk about it.
Yeah.
You watching the
Your
series?
son plays.
Yeah. I am.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think
Who's in
Dodgers.
it? Just kidding.
The Yankees. So on the side of it says, this just by happenstance, Sonder Brewing in Mason, Ohio. Sonder equals is the realization that each person has a unique story, which, I mean, that's why we're here.
Yes. That's
That's why we're
awesome.
here. So, thank you. Where can people find you? What is the name of your business?
Yeah, no doubt. The name of my company is Solutions for Real Estate. It's www.s4re.com. Obviously, that's the front end of our business. My email is mitchdominski@gmail. And yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we'll put it in the show underneath
Down
so
below.
that they can spell Dominski and Solutions for Real Estate, s4re.com, which
The number
is
4.
yeah,
The number 4.
which is the property management
Yeah, property management and brokerage business.
/ if you're trying to find an investment property or sell an investment property or do
Or
anything,
manage one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
give you a
Yeah,
shout.
we can help you find it, fix it, fill it.
Right.
So
Or just, and I know from experience, and so do you, just have a question about how do I do this? Should I do this?
Right. Yeah, I'll tell you what not to do. So,
Right.
but yeah, if I can help, that's my give back. I think it's what I should be doing now. So,
Right. Cool.
cool.
Cool, yeah. Well,
Thanks,
you.
man.
Thanks for your time.
You guys are awesome.
That's a wrap.
All right.
Again, thanks for joining, everybody. My name is Harvey Jurgen. My partner, Josh Hively. We are Simple Solutions Real Estate in Columbus, Ohio. Mitch Dominski was our guest today with Solutions for Real Estate. The website is www.s4re.com. That's S4re.com. Property management, buying, selling, need advice on real estate, what to do, what not to do. Hit up Mitch and his team at Solutions for Real Estate and they'll take care of you. As always, we want to thank Brian from Fairy Tale Films, who does all our filming and production and creative work. He's a genius, he's competent,
What's up, guys?
he's very reasonably priced. Hit him up if you need anything filmed or photographed. Again, thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.